Good afternoon, dear participants. So we have come to the last session of this faculty development program on life skill management. And our resource person for today's session has already joined us in. She is Ms. Chandana Bhuya. Before I hand over the session to her, I would like to give her a hearty welcome to this particular session of the faculty development program. And here I would like to introduce her to all the participants. Ms. Chandana Bhuya is a psychologist. She is a clinical psychotherapist and a trainer, and currently she is a consultant at Pratiksha Hospitals in Guwahati, Assam. She is a member of American Psychological Association and is also an associate of Feeling Minds and a co-director of CSAPC. She'll be talking about how attitude changes our biology, and I heartily welcome her to this platform so that she can spend the next 2 hours amidst us, amidst the very active participants, and deliver her session. So with this, I would like to request Ms. Chandana Bhuya to take over the session and go forward with her delivery.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the warm welcome, ma'am. And hello, everyone here. And I'm sorry for the inconvenience that actually, I'm having a health issue. So in between, probably I will switch off my camera, and I hope that's all right with all of you. And I expect this session to be more interactive, so that not only like I keep on lecturing and you keep on listening to my lectures, but more than that, I would like to listen from you. Like, I would like to ask some questions, and I would like to your responses. Is that okay with everyone? I think all of you can unmute yourself and answer me, or somebody can actually, you can write the message also in the inbox, whatever is convenient for you. But I would like to have your responses. Aradhana ma'am, can we have the PPT? I have mailed you there.
Yeah, you want us to share the
Yes,
screen now?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Viraksa, can I request you to share the PPT?
While the PPT is being shared, I would like to know from all of you, what is your expectation from today's session specifically? When you look at the topic, what did you think? I mean, what is your expectation? Please unmute yourself one by one and answer, please. If you're more comfortable to write, that's also okay. What is your expectation from today's session? Attitudinal shift, how our attitude affects our biology. How it can change our biology. Can I have some answers? Okay,
Is
okay.
the screen visible to all?
Ye- I guess yes.
Okay.
So one has answered. I would like to have some more answers. Any other ideas? There is no right or wrong answer to this. I just want to know, what is your expectation? When you look at the topic, what do you think? What you might get? Okay, okay. Thank you for that response. Hmm. So have any one of you have ever experienced any kind of change or shift after changing your attitude? Anyone has such kind of experience? Yes, Prerna ma'am, you said yes. Okay. Can you simply give us a little glimpse of it?
Ma'am, it
Yeah.
can be from a neutral or a negative attitude to a positive attitude, and the way
Mm,
you seek your life. Now
mm,
it has been a more mature outlook. You take
mm,
everything very steadily,
mm.
and it has given you a lot of peace of mind.
Right, right.
You do
And
not just outburst, you do not have a very outburst of emotions. When we
mm,
are young, we just react that in. Now I
mm,
have started to take things very lightly and steadily,
mm,
and it has
mm,
given me a lot of peace of mind.
mm. Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, okay, let's go for the session. Um, can I have the first PPT here? I mean the next one, yeah. So, when we are talking about biology, we have to talk about genes, right? Many of the times, what we think that, who we are just a genetic makeup. Yes or not? How many of you believe that you are a product of your genes? How many of you believe that you are a product of your genetics? You have inherited your intelligence, you have inherited your, attitude, your perception of the world, the outlook of the world. How many of you think like that? It's very important for me to know what you think. So that's why I'm asking you. You can raise your hands also. I mean, to answer, like, yes, I think that I'm a product of my genetic makeup. So many of the times when we talk about biology, it's not only about how we look. Yeah. Here, mostly we are going to look at our behavior and the type of diseases, whether it's mental or whether it's physical. We are going to look at
Um,
that. Okay?
uh, Good
Yes.
afternoon, ma'am.
Yes.
Could we inherit actually everything, or something we could generate of our own behavioral experiences and means experiential learning and whatever is there? But everything, intelligentsia and whatever, everything is inherited or something day by day from the childhood days with the surroundings and society and our parents and family, workplace, everywhere, whenever we are mixing up with others and we
Mm.
grow something else and mix up and adopt some new things like that.
Right. Right, sir. You're right, actually. Everything we don't inherit. And more than that, the part that we think that we inherit, we think that we are a product of our genes. Like for example, uh, if we at least we can, skip the behavioral part, we think that, we can unlearn things and we can change our behavior, we can change our personality. But most of the time, we firmly believe that although many of the types of diseases, at least those we inherit, for example diabetes, for example high blood pressure, yes or no, many of us believe that these are genetic. If we have the genetic predisposition, then we are going to have this. Oh, my father has diabetes, so I'm to definitely going to have diabetes. Yes or no? This is how we think or not? Yes. Right, we think that manner. But in many recent studies, we have come to know that it's not the gene who decides what kind of diseases we are going to have actually. Only 1% of the time it's the gene. But at the same time, there is a more layer to it. Have you heard about epigenetics? Anyone? Have you heard about epigenetics? No. Okay. Anybody? So epigenetics is something, which controls the genes. I mean, which gene is going to get expressed or suppressed is decided by epigenetics. Okay. And this epigenetics is directly, you know, affected by the type of attitude we have, the type of environment we deal with. Okay. And the type of perspective we have towards that environment. So it means just by having a different attitude, you can actually change the transcription of your DNA. You can change the epigenetics. For example, I'm going to give you an example here. There are lots of studies has been done. In fact, in all over the world, there are lots of university, lots of department, but highest amount of research has been done in the Department of Psychology and Behavioral Sciences. Okay, so here we found out that if in one single generation, if a mother is emotionally unavailable to its newborn baby, the newborn baby will not properly develop its proper stress response system, and it will result in dysfunctional distress level in that child. And interestingly, that is going to affect the next 8 generation of that particular family line. But if somebody undergoes therapy, psychotherapy, where with the help of language, only with the help of language, only with the reframing of your thought processes, we can change those transcription of our DNA, so that you can actually change that your dysfunctional stress response even. So can you see how powerful it is? No doubt genes are powerful. No doubt the environment affects the genes. At the same time, the genetics affects our behavior and how we are going to, what kind of diseases we are going to have. But at the same time, just by changing our attitude, just by changing our thought regarding that particular situation or distress, we can actually change the genetic makeup. So this is a very breakthrough, research that has been found out recently. Can you go to the next slide, please? So for example, there is an example given in the slide. You can look at the slide itself. Okay. There is a study has been done regarding the attitudes about aging and dementia. One of the strongest risk factors for dementia is the E4 variant of this is a gene. Okay, this is the name of the, you don't have to know the name of the gene. You just know that there is a factor, there is a variant which can decide whether the person is going to have dementia or not. Okay, interestingly, many folks who carry this gene don't develop dementia. The study followed 4,765 people aged 60 and over who were free of dementia at baseline. In the total group, those with positive beliefs about aging were significantly less likely to develop dementia. Even though you have the positive genetic factor for dementia, but you have a totally different attitude towards aging, you might not develop dementia. Among those with this particular gene variant, those with positive attitudes about aging were 49.8% less likely to develop dementia than those with negative beliefs. So just think about it. You have the genetic predisposition, yet you might not develop that. And who is going to decide that? Your attitude, your thought, your belief towards dementia and towards aging. Please go to the next slide. And it's not only about dementia. We can talk about this in the same thing about all other kinds of diseases, including cardiovascular diseases, cancer, schizophrenia, and everything. So there are lots of studies has been done. Another study where it is found out that if you have experienced adverse childhood experience, if you have more than 3 or 4 adverse childhood experience before the age of 12 years, probably there is a high risk of you developing cardiovascular diseases in later part of your life. Again, what is deciding that? It's not your genes which is deciding it. It's the experience that you have in your life and the type of attitude you have towards those experiences. Even though you have experienced trauma in your childhood, yet if you work on your trauma and if you overcome it, if you can regulate it, again you will be you will overcome whatever diseases you are going to have, or you will have fast recovery, or probably you might not even develop those diseases. So here your mind can be a powerful healing tool when given a chance. The idea that your brain can convince your body a fake treatment is the real thing, and it is known as placebo effect. Have any one of you, have you heard about placebo effect? Do you know what is a placebo effect? Anyone? Have you heard about placebo effect? No. Okay. Let me give you a very common example. How many of you have acidity problem? How many of you have acidity problem? Nobody? Okay. Thank you, Disha ma'am. Anyone else? Have you ever noticed that even after taking medication, you're probably not, feeling the comfort. You're still, experiencing discomfort in your abdomen. And but when you try Eno, and your acidity problem or your, bloating problem immediately goes away. How many of you have experienced it? That Eno is very effective in your, bloating issue or acidity issue. Anyone? Have anyone tried taking Eno whenever you have experienced discomfort in your abdomen or acidity or bloating? No one? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this Eno, which always most of the time it gives result actually, that is a result of placebo effect. Means Eno is not a medication. It has no such ingredient which can actually reduce your bloating level or which can actually reduce your acidity level. But yet it works. Why? Because not because of what it has, but because of your belief or your trust or your attitude towards that particular thing, that this is going to help my body. So placebo effect is whenever there is a, any kind of drug, whenever we introduce a new drug, there is always a type of experiment data they used to do, which where the new drug is tried, and there is another control group where a placebo is tried. Placebo means there, and no drug, no ingredient is given, but the people were told that you are given the medication, but actually that is not the medication. And it has been proved that just by telling the people that you are having the medication for your problem, their trust in the person and their trust in the drug itself heals them. So that is what is known as placebo effect. And this further gives a lot of scope for different kind of researches regarding healing, how our own body can heal ourselves. In fact, it is said that our brain is the biggest chemist. It can produce any kind of biochemicals. You don't have to take the supplement from the outside. Just by changing your thought, just by changing your attitude, just by changing your belief, you can actually produce different kinds of chemicals in your brain, and which can actually which can help you to heal from whatever you are suffering from. So anyone have any question till now regarding placebo effect? I guess no. So let's go to the next slide, please. So what happens here actually? How we create our belief system. For many years, we used to feel that mind and body are two different things. But actually, it's not. If you can look at me, this particular portion of the brain, this portion is known as the prefrontal cortex. Okay. This particular portion is also known as the thinking brain. And the middle and the back portion of our head, is known as the primitive brain. Okay, and in the primitive brain itself, there is a portion known as amygdala, which is the seat of emotion and seat of memory. And that's why this particular portion is also known as emotional brain. All the bodily function, all the involuntary bodily function, okay, is controlled by this primitive brain. It means, and this is also known as the unconscious minds. It means that our body is nothing but the extension of this particular primitive mind, primitive brain. So whenever we are breathing at this moment, right? Our heart is pumping blood, and lot of functions are going on inside our body. Who is controlling those things? The primitive brain is controlling those things. And at the same particular brain portion, our emotions and our memories are also controlled. So it has a direct connection. So the type of emotional life, the type of emotion we experience, the type of thought, irrational thought we have, it has a direct impact on our bodily functions, just like the bodily functions can impact our thought level and our emotion level. Okay, so mind is nothing but the brain in functioning. Okay, so mind and body are not two different things, they are interconnected. And that's why, your thought and your attitude actually has the power to change your biology. Let us, experience something now. Can all of you switch on your cameras, please? Can I see all of you? If you are comfortable, please switch on your cameras. I guess you are not comfortable switching on your cameras. So what you can do, you can just listen to my voice, but I want you to really, really, concentrate. Okay. All of you, wherever you are sitting or lying down or whatever you are doing, simply close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, breathe out, and you listen to my voice and only to my voice now. And at this very moment, try to remember any particular situation which gives you fear. Anything that you are scared of. If you have any phobia, if you have stage fear, anything. Just think about it. Just have a glimpse of it. Just imagine yourself doing the very thing that you are very scared of. While you seeing yourself there, just now be mindful about your body. Check how frequently you are breathing now. How your body is responding when you are imagining doing the thing that you are scared of doing. Open your eyes and please let me know, whoever has felt whatever you have felt, how your body responded at that very moment when you think about the fearful thing. You can write down or you can unmute yourself to answer me. Anyone? I'm waiting for your responses. Okay. Okay, let us try again. If you think it was very short. Okay, let us try again. Close, all of you, please close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, breathe out. Breathe into the center of your body, wherever you feel the center is, and breathe out. And now simply go back to a time where you have experienced a very sad or angry or extremely traumatic situation in your life. Now, an experience which is unforgettable, probably painful, probably full of anger, probably full of fear. You're scared to face that situation. You don't want to say it, but you are saying it now. While reliving that fearful moment at this moment, look at your body, how your body is responding. How is your breathing? How your muscles are? Is it relaxed or tight? Whether your tongue is normally relaxed or it's touching the roof of your mouth. How you're breathing. Check. Once you check your body's responses, please come out of that situation now. Come back to here and now and open your eyes. Because it is a negative experience, that's why I'm not keeping you to there for a long time. So making it a short one. If you have opened your eyes and if you have noticed any changes in your body while you are actually imagining that situation from your past, can you share how did you feel? Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Anil sir. It's an uneasy feeling. Breathing also increases and muscles get tighter. Yes, you're very much observant and very much mindful about your body. That's very good. Anyone else? Anyone else? Hmm. Thank you, Sanjeev sir. Breathing has increased. Yes, right. What about other people? Anyone wants to share their experience? In some cases, it might not be your body, it might be your thought level. It might be you might experience something on your emotional level. You might experience hesitation, irritation, anger, or you feel like you're not able to feel anything. You're feeling like blank. It can be of any level. Anyone wants to share that? See, without sharing our experiences, we cannot really talk about psychology, right? Me mere simply giving lecture will not help you to understand the topic. Okay. So you have noticed that the just by, you are not living that moment at this moment, right? I just ask you to imagine that situation which has happened in your past. And even though you just experienced for a very, very short time, yet your body responded in a different way the moment you imagined that. Have you noticed that? So that is how powerful our thoughts are. So just by changing the thought, your body's responses also changed. Sir, can we have our slides again? So just like placebo, we are talking about placebo effect. Just like placebo, there is a nocebo effect as well. Means, you know, placebo effect is a positive one. Like, just by believing that this can heal me, you're actually getting the healing effect. It means it is a product of your positive belief system. Just like that, you believing that this is not going to help me, or this is going to destroy me, or this is going to be it going to create a havoc, having a very negative attitude towards something can also have a very strong impact on your body, which will be definitely negative, and that is known as nocebo effect. It is associated with negative, life-threatening, or disempowering belief. Arthur Buskey, a psychiatrist, states that it is the patient's expectations, beliefs whether a drug or procedure works or will have side effects, that plays a crucial role in the outcome. So this is the reason, many times, many proper, medical intervention also doesn't work in some of the people. Why? Because probably the patient is not trusting the doctor, or the patient doesn't have the trust on the intervention itself. So it's very important to know about the patient's state of mind as well. Because if you don't have the right mindset, right attitude towards whatever you are doing, it is not going to help you, it is not going to heal you. Because we are talking about biology, because how our we are talking about how our attitude affects our biology, and that's why I'm giving examples of diseases again and again. I hope you understand that part, but it is applicable to all other things of our life. Please go to the next slide. So this is basically I'm trying to give you an idea, like how our biochemistry of our body stems from our awareness. Now, what is awareness, by the way? Let's not go into the PPT itself. Just give me some ideas about what do you think when I'm uttering the word awareness. You can write down, or you can unmute yourself and answer me. There is no right and wrong answer to this, by the way. What do you feel? What is awareness? Conscious feeling. Okay, good. And anyone else? Knowledge about something. Okay. Now let me ask you another question. How many of you are actually aware about your body? When I was asking you, like, for example, at this very moment when you are listening to my lecture, just check whether your tongue is relaxed or it is touching the roof of your mouth. Just check that. And let me know. How many of you are having actually a tense tongue? Forget about any other muscle of your body. Just check only your tongue. Is it relaxed, or when you checked, it was actually touching the roof of your mouth? Very good. It was relaxed. Anyone else who has noticed probably it was touching the roof of your mouth? Relax. Dishaman, that's nice. Any other body parts which is probably tense? Just check. Just have a body scan. Scan your body from head to toe. Any parts of your body which is probably, you don't even realize that it is tightened. Any discomfort in any part of your body at this very moment? Just check. Wow, that's nice. There is no discomfort. That's very good. Realize my mind is full of numerous thoughts. Yes, many times, probably it is not the body. Probably we are, expressing it in our cognitive level. So this stress or whatever, this kind of things can express itself in emotional level. It can express itself in cognitive level, or it can express itself in the bodily level as well. So awareness is whether, the moment I ask you this question, then only you checked, right? But most of the times, 95% of the time, we are not aware about ourselves. We are not aware about our thoughts. We are not aware about our feelings. We are not aware about our body sensations. Do you know that in a single day, within 24 hours of the time, we use 50,000 of words only with ourselves. We do a lot of self-talking. Are you aware about that? How many of you are actually aware that we are using 50,000 words in a single day only with ourselves? Forget about what we are talking with other people. Are we really aware about that? No. Most of the time, we are in a kind of a automatic mode. Okay, we are in a autopilot mode. Everything is going on like that. So 95% of the time, our life is actually unconscious. We are not conscious about it. We are not aware about it. And that's how we actually invite diseases, because we don't even know what kind of beliefs and thoughts and attitudes we are carrying, which is actually affecting our body. And that's why it's so important to be aware, to be mindful. So please go to the next slide. Point is that even if you're not aware what kind of thoughts you are having, what kind of self-talk you are having, even after that, those thoughts are affecting the biochemistry of your body. And it is definitely producing different kinds of things. And that's why on today's date, we have so many kinds of diseases which are known as lifestyle diseases. There is a branch in psychology which is known as psychoneuroimmunology. It is the study of interaction among behavioral, neural, endocrine, and immune processes. Okay. So according to this, many of the neurological diseases, many of the immunological diseases, many of the endocrine system related diseases are nothing but the product of some kind of psychological dysfunction. So basis is in your psyche. Forget about every other studies and everything. Let's talk about COVID itself. So from last 2 years, I have been counseling COVID patients. Okay, and we are a group of psychiatrists and psychologists who are actually, counseling all the positive patients. Okay, so initially we used to call on our own. So like we have counseled like thousands of people from last year. So what we have noticed, we have noticed that those people who have a very positive outlook towards, their situation, like I'm going to overcome this, I'm going to come out of this situation or this disease, they are the one who has actually, bounced back very early, whose recovery rate is really good. And those people who went into, very critical stage are the same people who actually experience extreme amount of fear when they face that particular disease. So why is that? Because the moment you're experiencing fear, your amygdala is going haywire, and it is signaling your primitive brain that your life is at danger. And immediately your primitive brain, simply activate your fight and flight response of your body. That is a good thing if we are actually facing an acute situation. But our primitive brain cannot think on its own. Thinking ability is in the prefrontal cortex. So it can only pick up patterns. So it cannot differentiate between an actual life-threatening situation and a perceived life-threatening situation. So if you are somebody who is suffering from chronic stress level, So your body is constantly pumping stress hormone, constantly. So your brain is in the survival mode. It thinks that you are constantly in danger. And along with that, if you are suffer from some kind of disease like COVID-19, your body gets the signal that ab to ho gaya, ab to nahi bach sakte hain. And that particular thought itself creates havoc in your body. So your immunity system, which is governed by your emotions and your thoughts and your attitude, it weakens. So because no matter what kind of medical intervention has been done, all kind of medical interventions are done in alignment with your immunity system. And if your immunity system itself is going haywire, obviously no medicine will help you. So that is the reason we have offered counseling, and that is it. And we have done a lot of studies regarding that. We have collected a lot of information also, and it is seen that if you are having a very positive attitude, even in that situation, you are the one who is going to bounce back from that particular disease, because your immunity system will, work with the medical intervention. But if you are not having that positive attitude, it is going to have haywire. It is going to create a lot of havoc on your body as well, and probably medicine will take longer time to heal you. Till this point, anyone has got any question? Any question till now? No question? Okay. Can you have the next slide, please? Yeah, next one. Yeah. Now let's look at it, how our brain actually works. So our brain, whatever thoughts we have, whatever beliefs we have, these are all based on our prior experiences, right? And based on that, we actually secrete different kinds of neurotransmitters or neurohormones, which itself affects our body. So our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs actually can change the type of neurotransmitter that is we are emitting from our brain. Please go to the next slide. So neurotransmitter, what are neurotransmitters? So they can affect different levels of our body. It can affect our emotional life, it can affect our mental functioning, it can affect our physical functioning as well. These are some of the examples only. But neurotransmitter effects overall, it can affect anything and everything of our life. Okay, please go to the next slide. So this is the crucial part, how we actually create our beliefs. So when we were born, there were very few things that were meaningful, but human beings are actually meaning making machines. Initially nothing was meaningful, right? But we learn to associate things, and that's how we associate different meanings to different things, and we assign meaning to things through observation and experience. So whatever is happening surrounding you while when you were a child, based on that you are going to create some meanings, you are going to create some schemas, and you are going to store that in your brain for next rest of your life. So when something happens, you compare it to the prior experience and decide what to do. So this particular schemas are stored in your brain, and later part in your life, for example, even now, no matter what is your age, 25, 35, 45, if something happens to you, your that particular belief system will get activated, because till the age of 7 years of age we absorb everything in our environment, whatever is there, whatever has happened, whatever sound we have heard, whatever pictures we have seen, whatever situations we have faced. Based on that, we have created some meanings, and we have created some stories, and we have stored that in our brain, and based on that actually we have created our belief system. So most of the time we are unaware about what kind of belief system we are carrying. Many of the times those belief systems are not helpful. And that's what actually creates diseases in our mind or in our body. Please go to the next slide. So this is what I just mentioned. Until the age of 7, children interpretation of behavior is centric, based on one thing at a time, concrete, all or nothing, egocentric. All or nothing, it means either everything is good or everything is bad. So their perception of towards life is totally limited, right? Because they are just children. But based on those limited perception, we create our belief system. Things you learn as a child may be inaccurate and no longer applicable in your adult life, but we are not aware about it. We unconsciously, we are still carrying those baggages, those belief system with us, until and unless you don't go to a therapy, you don't question your belief system, you don't really dig in, you are not aware about what kind of belief system you are actually carrying, which is harmful for you. Please go to the next slide. Next. Yeah. So there is a statistics given. So because this study has been done in US, so the statistics is of United States actually, because this kind of studies has not been done in India. So here there is a list of 20 diseases, 20 top causes of death. Interestingly, just notice what is the 15 number cause of death. Every year 20,231 people died only by the belief that stress is harmful to you. So there are lots of studies has been done in United States where it is noticed that even if you are under tremendous stress, but you have a very strong positive outlook that I can overcome this or I can control this situation, you don't have those negative side effects of stress. You don't experience that. But even if your life is quite smooth, but you believe that you are stressed and that stress is harming you, that belief itself can kill you. Please go to the next slide. So here, look at the first ring. The first ring is nothing but the heart. I mean, most of the time nowadays, the one of the top most lifestyle diseases are cardiovascular diseases. Okay, we have heart diseases. We have used to have high blood pressure. So what happens there? Our blood vessels normally constricted, right? The first ring is a example of a constricted blood vessel. So whenever we are stressed, whenever we are feeling negative, whenever we are thinking negative, our blood vessels actually act in that manner. So if you're constantly having negative thoughts, if you're constantly having negative attitudes, if you're constantly carrying some negative belief towards life, your blood vessels, even though you have a very good diet or probably you exercise daily, even though just by having a unhelpful and harmful belief, you can create that kind of a constricted blood vessel. But if your attitude towards life or towards your distress situation is different, if you have a positive outlook towards life, even though no matter what kind of stress you have experienced, your blood vessels can still behave in a much, much better way, just like the below one. Till now, anyone has got any question?
Yes, ma'am, I have one question. Not
Yes?
question, just query. You have told
I'm
about
not
that.
able to hear you properly.
No, ma'am. Now I am audible.
You're not properly audible.
Now it is audible, ma'am. Are you hearing me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So you have told about that in uh, main causes of death.
Hmm.
You have told that stress is the main causes of death.
Stress belief, not
So
stress, stress belief.
stress belief, yes.
Hmm.
So in developed US is a developed country. So in developed country, stress may be causes of death.
Hmm.
But in developing country or underdeveloped country, I think is it the reason?
Yes, it is. It is. Because see, stress itself is harmful, that's true. But how you regulate your stress, that's also decide whether that stress can impact you or not. So many of the time, in fact, in why we are known as underdeveloping countries or developing countries after all, because we have, if we do those kind of studies here, the statistics will be far more worse. In fact, India is one of the leading countries who have highest amount of diabetic patients and highest amount of suicide cases and depression. Why? These are all connected. In fact, that I mentioned that about that adverse childhood experience. So that particular study has actually started to know about why we are having so much diabetes in our society nowadays. So they first try to understand the root cause of diabetes, but they found out that the root cause of diabetes is not the genetics, but it's the adverse childhood experience, the trauma you have experienced in your life. So it means if you have undergone a very extremely stressful situations in your life, how you have overcome that situation and how you are dealing with it actually can decide whether what kind of diseases you are going to have in your adult life.
This is important. Yes. Okay. 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 Ma'am. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I hope that answers your
Yes, ma'am.
question, sir.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank
Yeah,
you.
okay. Thanks for your question, by the way. Anyone has got any other question? Anyone else? Now let's talk about, like, whenever you experience, if there is any exam or anything, probably you are going to meet, you're in marriageable age, you are going to meet your would-be spouse. What will be your body's response? Like there will be you will experience increased heart rate, right? So in a situation where you experience fear, there will be increased heart rate. At the same time, in a situation where you are actually experiencing excitement, there will be also increased heart rate. But both of the situation will impact your body in two different ways. But with the help, you can actually fool your body. When you, if anybody has got stage fear, okay, and they experience increased heart rate, just by telling yourself, just by having the self talk that it is the excitement that I'm experiencing, that the way I'm going to present, I'm so excited about this new experience, just by telling those things to you can actually change body's responses, can actually change the performance that you are going to give in that particular stage probably. So just like that, just by changing the attitude, just by changing the self-talk, just by changing the thought, you can change your body's biochemistry, your body's biology. And you can have a better life, you can experience more happiness, you can experience more wellness in every level, in physical, emotional, spiritual, and social level. Am I clear enough till now? Do you have any question? Okay. We can go to the next slide now. So now, have you any one of you heard about oxytocin? Anyone? Oxytocin is popularly known as cuddle hormone. Yes, Purabi ma'am. Yeah, cuddle hormone or love hormone also. So why is that? But what we don't know is that oxytocin is also a kind of a stress hormone. We are aware about all other kinds of stress hormones like adrenaline, like or cortisol, but we are not much aware about that oxytocin can actually a stress hormone, even though it is known as cuddle hormone. So it is the body's own mechanism to regulate our stress level. So whenever you are stressed, our body produces oxytocin, and oxytocin in return actually motivate us to reach out to people, to connect to people. So those people, if you have noticed, those people who have a very good support system, very good social connection with other people, even if they are experiencing extreme amount of distress in their physical or in their personal life, they are the people who always overcome those situations or bounce back. Anyone have noticed any such person in their life? So when I'm talking about changing, attitude, how your attitude can affect your biology. So if you have an attitude of, making friends, connecting with people, reaching out to people, and uh, don't feel, stigmatized to ask for help, it means you have a very positive attitude towards life, and that attitude can actually save you from different kinds of diseases or different kind of distress level inside your body or outside your body. Please go to the next slide. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, yeah. So here, all of these things, this, yeah, neuroplasticity. All of these things are based on one single thing, which is known as neuroplasticity. Now, what is neuroplasticity? Neuroplasticity is, our brain on the basis of what kind of thoughts we are constantly repeating. Okay, what kind of self-talk we are constantly repeating to ourselves is going to create a kind of a synaptic connection in your brain. For example, I can give you an analogy of, like, for example, uh, every day you take a definite route to your college or to your university. Okay, so you're going for many years using that particular route, and all of a sudden some kind of construction is has started in that particular route, and the route has been changed. What will be your first response? At the morning hours, when go to your institute, initial 2 or 3 days, what will happen to you? You probably, without being much aware about it, you probably take the older route, and then you realize, oh no, the construction is going on in this route, I have to go to the new route. Yes or no? This happens with us or not? It happens with all of us. So yeah, yes, ma'am. So what happens there? For many years, because you are using a definite route, that the route has been completely registered in your brain, in your memory. Just like that, most of you probably drive, right? You drive your car or you drive a bike probably. So have you noticed many of the times you don't have to give any effort to drive? You can think about something and you can keep on driving because it is in there in your limbic system now. Because that unconscious competence has come. You know how to drive. Your body is driving your car or the bike. You don't have to consciously drive it all the time. Yes or no? This happens to you or not? How many of you have experienced this? That you don't have to be all the time conscious while you are driving. If you are not a new driver, of course. I'm waiting for your responses. Does this happen to you or not? Yeah, this happens to you, right? So what do you think why this happens to you? We can remove the slide now, I guess. So this happens because your brain has created a definite neural path on the basis of whatever you have been experiencing repeatedly, or whatever you have been saying to yourself repeatedly. Okay, so repetition is the key. So the important point is that if you're telling unconsciously, even if you're telling negative things to yourself, unconsciously you are carrying negative attitude towards life, you are going to create negative neural path or worry loop in your brain, and that is, depressive loop. Those people who comes to us, for the cure of their anxiety or depression, this is nothing but they are having a depressive loop or a anxiety loop in their brain, and we need to break that neural path, and we need to create a new neural path. That is the blessing of human beings, that we have the ability of neuroplasticity, means we can deconstruct a definite neural path and we can create a new neural path. We can change the biology of our brain itself. Our brain has got the plasticity. It can change just by changing your thought, just by changing your attitude. But yes, it takes practice, it takes some time. There are some strategy to do that. But it has been proved in many levels, whether you go for the placebo effect, nocebo effect, whether you go for the study of epigenetics, or whether you study the neuroplasticity. It has been proven that that your attitude, your thoughts can determine the biology you have. You can change. In fact, many of the times people come to us with eating disorders, many kind of diseases. You need to work on your mind, work on your thought level, then only medication is going to help you. Am I clear till this point? Anyone has got any questions? Okay. So, all of you, do you want to experience what kind of thoughts, negative thoughts probably you are carrying with yourself? Do you want to experience that now? Do you want to identify that? Can you try a little activity? Can you do a little activity here? Okay. All of you, do you have some loose papers or any paper or copy where you can, tear off the pages? Yeah. Please get ready with some pages and pen. Once you are ready, please message ready, and then I'll give you the further instructions. I'm waiting for everyone's responses. Okay. Okay. I suppose everyone is ready. So your task is, once I say start, you're going to start writing I am feeling. The prompt is I am feeling, or I'm worrying about, or I'm worried about. Okay. So what you have to feel in is any kind of unpleasant feeling, any kind of unpleasant emotion, any kind of unpleasant thought, or any kind of unpleasant body sensation. So be mindful about whatever you are having initially. Okay, I am feeling this, I am feeling that, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that. So you can write about any negative feeling, negative thought, negative emotion, negative memory, whatever is coming to you. Keep on writing. The rule is, until and unless I don't say stop, you're not going to stop, because otherwise the whatever is there buried in your subconscious will not come out, because you will be conscious and you are consciously looking at what I am writing. And don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to share any of the things. It is for your own benefit only. But let all the self talk, all the unconscious self talk you are having, let it all come out and pour on that particular page. Am I clear? Have you understood the instruction? Once I say start, you will start writing. There will be a time limit. I will use a stopwatch here, and you have to write. And the rule is, until and unless I don't say stop, you cannot lift your pen from the pages. You have to keep on writing. Even if you feel your hand is paining, write down my hand is paining. If you feel like what this Chandana ma'am is asking us to do, write that down. If you feel like this is so boring, write down that. Okay? But you cannot stop. Then only all the things that is buried in your subconscious will start to come up. Everyone ready? So your time starts now. Start writing. I have started the stopwatch. Write about all the worries you have, all the tensions you are having in your back of your mind, all the negative emotion that you probably don't want to identify. Acknowledge it. Write it down. And don't look back and don't think. Keep on writing. Whatever is coming to your mind, keep on writing. If you feel like nothing is coming to your mind, write down nothing is coming to my mind. That itself also shows a lot of things. Don't think, don't stop, keep on writing. Let all the stored emotions come out. Let all the suppressed tension, suppressed negative memories come out. Suppression never helps. Denial never helps. Let it all come out and write it down. Let all the suppressed anger come out. Address it, acknowledge it. Keep on writing. Even if your hand is paining, keep on writing even if you find it boring. Keep on writing. Let all the buried emotions, buried negative thoughts come out. Keep on writing. If you're feeling stuck, ask yourself what is there in me which I don't want to see, which I don't want to address. Be aware about what kind of talks you have with yourself. Check in your body sensation also if there is any kind of unpleasant body sensation when you are writing about your emotions. Check if you are feeling any kind of void, anger, irritation, restlessness, hesitation, not motivated enough, feeling lazy, tired, fatigue. Mm, keep on writing. You have 10 more minutes to go. You're all conscious about your thoughts till this moment. Now, if you're writing religiously as I have instructed, you will go deeper and deeper things will come up. 90% of diseases have a psychological root to it. So simply by exploring your psyche, you can actually understand the root cause of your disease. And just by having that knowledge, you can change your biology. Keep on writing. Even it is tiring, even it is boring, because we find it very difficult to address our unresolved emotions and traumas and negative memories. And that's why we experience highest amount of resistance also. 7 more minutes to go. Don't stop, keep on writing, even if you find it tough. Keep on writing. Later, we will explore your negative emotions and the type of probably diseases or issues you are having in your life. We're almost there, about to finish. Okay, you can stop now. Now, all of you, your next task is you simply encircle all the extremely negative words that you have written. And among all of them, just check which one's intensity is the highest. And if it is okay, please let me know the highest intensity negative emotion or thought you are having. Can anybody unmute themselves and tell me how many pages you have written or write down in the inbox? Anyone can tell me how many pages you have written? Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else? Let me give you an example. Anyone here have any kind of allergic diseases? Skin allergy, probably. Any allergic diseases which has no known cause, no medically known cause, root cause. Idiopathic urticaria, anyone? Or any other diseases which are, even after having lots of tests, you are not able to know that why you are having that particular problem. If it is okay for you to share, please share. Nobody has got any health issues of any kind? Okay, that's great. Please, okay, thank you. Please check the highest intensity negative emotion that you have written, or a thought, or a body sensation, whatever it is. And if it is okay, please share the highest intensity negative emotion or thought. I'm waiting for your responses.
ma'am, uh,
Yes.
I have written, okay, but
Hmm.
not understood which one is negative.
Okay.
I just
So,
want to share
so
my,
yes, sure. Please share.
I want to share my feelings, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, madam, I have lost my parents within 1 year in a year 2018,
Okay.
which was not expected.
Okay.
So at that time, I felt that I have become alone, in spite of the fact that
Mm-hmm.
my family
Hmm.
members, like wife, children, all friends, were at
Oh.
that time very supportive.
Mm-hmm.
And this was really unfortunate for me at that time. After a few
Mm-hmm.
months, I felt that I have to be refreshed
Hmm.
and went for a long mm, tour with my family members for 2 and 3 weeks.
Hmm.
And
Acha.
after coming back, I have rejoined in my college.
Hmm.
Now sometimes I feel that my parents are seeing me from heaven.
Okay.
Sometimes my wife find out my mother's dresses from the Almira, and she also wears these dresses when she goes out.
Hmm.
Me also sometimes find out my uh, father's uh, pad, writing pad, files, dresses.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of feelings now also I get, but
Mm-hmm.
their blessings is always blessings, na. So as a
Mm-hmm.
so this is my feelings I have told this.
Right, right. So thank you so much for sharing. Actually, grief is a very long process, and everyone's grieving process is also different. So,
Yes,
but what we can do is that why we feel grief, because there are lots of emotions that we want to show, but there is no one to show that, right?
yeah, ma'am. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
what we can do many of the times, the moment with the death of the body, we think that the relationship has also ended because there is no more a physical body. But you
Yeah,
can still have that emotional connection with the person. In we can explore different ways to do that, which can
exactly.
actually help in the grieving process. So you have done in a very right way, and you are doing in a very well manner. Of course, I hope you will overcome eventually. But
Yeah,
yes, you must be experiencing a lot of pain time to time. And the point is that once we experience grief, it changes us. We
yeah.
cannot go back to the previous us. It changes our perspective towards life. It
Obviously.
changes, obviously, it changes our mind and body as well. So many of the times also after losing a loved one, whether it's a parent or anybody else, we also experience different kind of physical diseases, not because of the physical reasons, but because of the emotional reasons if you are not addressing those emotions. But
Yeah.
if you're addressing those emotions, there is less likely of developing a disease. So I hope, sir, you are doing all right physically as well.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Now I'm
Oh,
physically
yeah,
fit.
that itself shows that you are addressing your emotions quite well, sir. So
Thank
that's
you.
nice. And thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am.
Anyone else wants to share? Please come up. I would like to give you some glimpses of some of the things, like why I ask you about allergic diseases. So many of the times, idiopathic urticaria, for example, or different kinds of allergic diseases, it doesn't have a definite root cause. Doctors are also clueless. Even after doing lots of tests, you don't find out the root cause. But many of the times, with help of the psychotherapy, this kind of allergic diseases you can get rid of. Why? Because if there is some kind of unresolved anger issues, you're not addressing some anger issues, probably you have experienced it in your childhood or in your teenager, something happened which probably is so much traumatic for you that you don't want to even process, so you have completely suppressed it to your unconscious mind. So it will always show up in your body, because as I have told you, body and mind are not two different things. So different kind of diseases which also involves inflammation. So in case of inflammation also, there is some kind of unresolved anger issues. So that is the reason I was asking you to write down your thoughts and emotions, and also to, so that you can connect whatever you have not addressing, and whatever physical issues probably you are having at this moment. So anybody wants to come up? I have given you one example how our thought or emotion is connected to our biology. Just like a thought can create a disease, a thought can heal you as well. Anyone wants to share? Anybody else? It must be very difficult for you to share. Today I have got a very silent audience, by the way. Okay. So I suppose you're not, you don't want to share whatever you have understood from your writings, but I want you to do some things because you have written about negative emotions and negative memories. So I want you to resolve those things. So what you can do now, okay, close your eyes again and hold on to those pages. Please follow the instructions. Hold on to those pages, close your eyes, take a deep breath in, breathe out, and imagine all the stored negative emotions, stored negative memories, stored, unpleasant body sensations, all are moving and shifting from your body through your hands and coming down to those pages. Feel that shift. Imagine that shift. Imagine is a power. Use that. Once you feel that everything has come out and sitting on those pages in the form of letters, now start tearing those pages and say along with me, I choose to release these negative emotions, negative memories, negative thoughts from my mind, from my body, and from my entire system. I choose to release all these negative emotions, negative thoughts, negative experiences, negative memories from my mind, from my body, from my entire system. Here, the entire pages. And now, whatever feels right to you, do that to these pieces of page. Like if you feel like dumping on a dustbin, dump it. If you feel like flushing it out, flush it. If you feel like burning it, burn it. But whatever you do, while you do that, just stay out, out, out 3 times. This is a part of expressive art therapy, expressive and explorative, of course. Even though it feels very simple, but it has a profound effect on your body. If you can actually open up, I could have helped you more, but as you choose not to open up, so it's all right. Please follow the instruction. And with this, I'm ending today's session. Thank you so much for patiently listening to this. And over to you, Adhana ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you so much, Chandana Bhuya, for delivering your talk on a very interesting topic today. It was a very interactive session too. We involved with a lot of activities. And I am sure the participants must have enjoyed doing that, discovering themselves more. So thank you once again for investing your valuable time. Though you are not keeping well health-wise, still you have given your consent to be with us today for entire 2 hours. So I'm really thankful to you for that. I'm really grateful. And I also wish that your health improves over time. You get well soon. And with that, I offer my heartfelt thanks and gratitude on behalf of all the participants, as well as from the organization committee of the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, Guwahati University, for being with us here. Thank you, Ms. Chandana Bhuya.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.